Were there any, I guess, lessons that you took home from the show that you're sort of applying now in your own kitchens, or?
Just where you can find inspiration, I think, was a big lesson I learned. I mean, outside of wanting to, be inspired by maybe art or literature, which I think is a little bit abstract for me, but just different cultures, like the whole Mexican thing was like really awesome for me. It really opened
Probably should have stayed Asian.
No, whatever, bro. I did good.
And helped me with my dessert.
Yeah, Mexicans love my mole.
It was amazing.
But yeah, one of the biggest eye lessons I took away from the show was just how much I've said this before, just how much I don't know about food. Because when you think about all the different cultures, when you think about all the different cuisines, all the different parts of the world, every spice in the world, every cooking method, every technique, there's a lot, and I've been cooking for 17 years and I feel like I know a lot, but, and at the end of the day, in the grand scope of things, I don't, so it's really inspired me to want to learn more, to want to travel more, and just to be inspired by other surroundings, and pick up different things from different cultures and learn, and learn from other people. I was in a surrounding with 16 very different people. Obviously some were better cooks than others, but I learned a lot from Doug. I learned a lot from May. I learned from Alyssa. I learned from Katsuji. Yeah, I did. So now I look around. I look around and I look for inspiration in different places and different people, and it's pretty cool. It's very freeing in a lot of ways.
For me, it was confidence. Being a sous chef, the first couple episodes of the show, Colicchio kind of called me out at one point and was like, I feel like you're cooking dishes that you've cooked for other people, and they're good. I mean, I wasn't on the bottom, I wasn't on the top, and right around Thanksgiving, it was like, I just kind of started like kind of cooking. And I'm from the South, but I never, ever before Top Chef would have thought that I would do Southern food. Like in a million years, I ran away from it. And now, I serve Southern food, a lot of Southern food at Imperial.
A Northwest Mexican restaurant.
But it just kind of started coming out of me from this place that I really didn't know that I had. And it was scary, but I started like kind of receiving praise for it. And it was really, really cool, and it helped me so much in like coming back home and taking over for Benny. And Benny's such a talented guy. And I was so nervous. It's such a scary thought to be like, all of a sudden it's going to be my menu and she might walk in and hate it. And that's going to suck. Or, or like people aren't going to come back. It's such a scary thought to get reviewed. It's exciting. You want it though. Because if you're not reviewed, you're like, you want it. So to be put in that situation where you're being reviewed day after day was such a cool experience. Like, and to hear from it, because you could get one bad review and just be like toast, So it was such a cool stepping into that confidence and being like, okay, I'm just going to keep cooking and keep learning from it and keep pushing and keep digging deep, deep, deep inside and keep being inspired. It was such an amazing experience. And it's kind of funny when I came back, like, Vito looked at me and was like, are you ready for this? And I was like, well, as long as Colicchio's not like coming in my first day, I think I'll be all right, But yeah, just finding that confidence, it was such a cool lesson to learn from that show. And to cook next to.
We got a lot of critique, there's the four main judges, but at the end of the day, we had
Tons.
Very different palates, kind of judging us, twice a day, and, just taking a little bit of advice, because everything's such on a big scale. So every detail of every episode you're going to keep in your head because it's such a big deal. So just to be able to get such feedback and,
Amazing.
And to have the head judges follow your whole, path on the show, and it instills a lot in you, for, Tom Colicchio to tell me, I'm a global chef, I'm like, I should learn about more global foods, not just Asian. I'm like, I can do this. Just, I made some good Mexican food, what's up,
He did.
You guys both have kind of touched on this already, but I kind of wanted to revisit the topic of, it took a while for Portland to have chefs on Top Chef. We had folks on Top Chef Masters, but to have both of you from Portland on this season, and both of you do so well. Do you think it helps just kind of raise the profile of Portland and on kind of the national scene? What do you think?
I don't know. I think Portland's such a amazing. I find it hard to believe that like my performance on Top Chef like would put Portland on any map.
It does,
because Portland is such. I mean, I'm such a tiny little baby in this food scene, full of amazing chefs. I mean, and they keep coming, and the restaurants get better and better, and we just keep pushing as a city. So, I mean, it's an amazing honor to go do it, but Portland's also just like such a cool town. You know, when I first did Top Chef, I was like, oh, no one's going to care about Top Chef. It's Portland. You know, like we're cooler than
And I
that.
thought the same thing.
Like,
I thought the same thing.
People are going to be like, oh, look at the sellout chef
I
on TV.
I know.
How often are you in your kitchen?
And then it was the coolest thing. I really thought the same thing. You know, for me, I've been in Portland. It'll be 7 years this spring, and you know, I honestly, like in the time I've been here, I see 3 generations of chefs. I see the Vitali Paleys. When I moved there, it was like Vitali and Kathy Lynch,
Vito,
and Naomi Pomeroy and Gabriel Rucker, and that's everyone. Those were the main important chefs that everyone spoke about, all amazing, talented people. I feel then came people like me, like the Greg and Gabby Denton who came around, people like Jose who moved here in Atuala, Jose Chesa, you know, like this whole school of kind of, you know, a little bit older chefs, not completely old school, but kind of a little bit younger, kind of doing something new and fun. And I feel like I'm like this middle generation kind of for here. And then there's like the Dougs and like you and like Nora and like Andrew Mace, kind of, you know, like the new guard, just, you know, just doing amazing things, having learned from, you know, some amazing, you know, kind of esteemed Portland chefs, you know, learning from Vitali and like all that good stuff. So
sweet, Gregory.
I feel there's 3 schools, you know, and we all just hang out, you know. Like I love Vitali Paley. He's like one of the first people I met when I moved here. You know, I used to hang out over there.
One of the funnest things to do on a day off is, I mean, you go out to eat and just try the most amazing food, and it just keeps getting better and better and better. Like every time I go out, it's just so inspiring, and it's nerve-wracking too, because it's competitive, right? You got to be on the edge. I mean, it's such an amazing, fun town. I just feel like I lucked out so much moving to Portland.
I think our community strengthens as well, you know, like in
there
terms of the chefs and in
times-
terms of the diners, and we all seem to get along, and there's tons of artisans and makers, and you know, all you know, clients and people who love to eat and just frequent our restaurants and support us, and you know, we're all just in this great community together. And
there was a
it's just
time
great.
when you're a young chef and you're like, okay, I got to go to Chicago or New York City, pay my dues, and I mean, it's kind of changed, and you can live in an amazing place like Portland and not take a train for 2 hours, you know, and like not be able to afford rent, and you can go to restaurants and see the chefs, and you can work with the chefs, and it's such a cool town to cook in. I mean, I can't even stress how fun it is.
What's the future bringing? I guess, I don't know, like, give us the 5-year. What's coming?
Oh my God, 5 year, one day at a time. one day at a time. I'm gonna go to sleep tonight. I'm gonna show up to work tomorrow, and I'm gonna cook awesome food for a bunch of awesome people.
For me,
At Imperial, right down the street, 410 Southwest Broadway. Come see me.
Through the craze of Top Chef last year, I started thinking about my life and what I wanted to do, and I've always wanted to travel a lot and run around a lot and be single and have fun and cook a lot. But I think throughout the craziness, which was last year, I decided I want to settle down and live here forever. And so we have a goal of a house in the gorge. Obviously, I'm opening another restaurant in Denver, but I'm not moving. And
I heard you were moving.
I'm not moving.
I tell people
Don't
you're
spread
moving.
those rumors, Doug. Obviously, my departure is a very important place to me. So, you know, I just love it here. I plan on being here for a very long time.
Me
and
too.
if I open up another restaurant here at some point, you know, that might happen. I don't know, but I'll be here. I'll be here cooking.
Well, this seems like a good time to transition into some questions from the audience. I bet folks out there have some things they're wondering about. Who has a question?
Do they pay you to be on that show?
Let's repeat that question for folks who maybe couldn't hear it. Do they pay you to be on that show?
Absolutely not.
No.
No.
Some people won certain challenges with prizes. Other people did not. Surprisingly enough. But no. Absolutely not. Not that I know of. Maybe he got paid.
No, I didn't get paid.
He wouldn't tell me if he did.
Of course I would. I tell you everything.
I have two questions. One, when was it actually filmed, and how long did it actually take? And number two, what sort of, when did you actually see, like, Padma and Colicchio? Did you only see them while you were cooking, or did you ever have any other exposure to them?
We filmed for 8 weeks. The bulk of it was end of May, early June. We had a 6-week break. 6-week break, and we filmed the finale at the end of September. And any camera time that you see us with the judges is real. It's very awkward. You can't look at them. You can't be in the same room as them. There were about 2 moments where we reacted like real people. It was after the fan favorite episode where we all took a big picture together. And
Fan favorite episode.
yeah, in the Top Chef kitchen. Remember?
Oh, yeah. Who won that one?
That was you. Were we in the top 2 together that day?
Yeah, we were.
Oh, okay. And after the finale, we all kind of said hellos. But it's just like this weird thing where they don't want anyone to see us talking to each other and be all awkward and stuff. So
And it's for the best. You know, they had a job to do, and we had a job
yeah,
to do.
they know nothing about us. They know nothing about our personalities. They know nothing about our backstories. They know zero about us except for what they see when they're walking through, just so they can be as fair as possible and not emotionally attached to us at all. That is, it is a big, hugely produced TV show, but in actuality, at the end of the day, like all they wanted was good food, and nothing else, bothered their minds outside of that. It was just all about the food and what we put in front of them, nothing else.
Ooh, let's start over here.
With all the crazy challenges you guys had, like if you were the judges and you had to pick some theme to give to the contestants, like the crazy thing you would pick?
I wouldn't make them cook with ant eggs, number one. God, that's a hard one. They threw some wild ones at us.
I think the team challenges were the hardest.
The team challenges were hard, but I think that was. God, I'm trying to think of.
I think like the literary.
I wouldn't want to put anyone through any of this stuff. Like that's like such a sick thought for me to like. How would I torture these group of chefs? What would make them the most terrified and uncomfortable?
I appreciate the challenge where we had to find inspiration, like the literary challenge and the art challenge.
Because he got to pick first.
So. Speak up.
Just speak up, he says. I'll take the poblano pepper. No, I got that.
No.
You take the cheese and the ant eggs.
You're a great cheese chef.
He said that. You're a great cheese chef. What does that mean? I still don't know what that means.
You are.
And like they bought it. Pat was like, he is actually a good cheese chef. What? Gregory. And then the funniest part about that is the interview was like, Doug just didn't speak up. And so I was like, well, actually, I did speak up. I do remember saying, I'll take the poblano pepper, Gregory. And then May's like, I told him I'd take the ant eggs. You said that? Because I don't remember anybody saying, I'll take the ant eggs.
She did.
Oh, she did.
She totally did.
Weird. It's them versus me. Weird how this pans out that way. It's like... Doug, you did dessert with the cheese because you did so well on the quickfire with the chocolate. Okay, guys, sounds good. You're a cheese chef.
This one all the way in the back, yeah.
Chefs, if they asked you to come back for Masters or one of the other All-Stars, would you go? Would you do it?
I can't even answer that right now. I would never back down from a challenge.
Yeah. It's really, really fun. I think we're both adrenaline junkies, and we both did really well. So to be put through that and then to have them like it is like the biggest rush ever. I think if All Stars would probably be in about 6 years, and I think I should move on and be at a point in my career where I don't have to do Top Chef anymore in 8 years. But it's really fun. Overall, it's really fun.
I think one of the things you have to look at is how it affects being gone for that long. I mean, where you're at in your life. I was lucky enough to be in a position where my boss was like, "Oh, you're doing it. Like, don't worry about the restaurant." Because, I mean, as a sous chef, you're kind of the workhorse. So there's a lot of chefs. I mean, if one of my sous chefs told me that they were going to do Top Chef, I was like, "Are you sure? You should probably just stay here and work." You know, but I was so fortunate to be in a situation where everyone around me was like, "Oh, go. Like, don't worry about us. Like, go do this." But, I mean, it puts a tremendous amount of strain on personal relationships, on...
We still haven't recovered at the restaurant. I lost a sous chef when I went on for the taping in Boston. That was like 9 months ago, and we just hired someone. So it was like
it's a long time to be gone. And a
huge chunk of like emotional and physical stress on my cook in the kitchen. But it has been paying off, and now we're just a little bit busier, which is even harder for them. But
thanks, chef.
Overall, I think one of the things also is like the day that the show airs, like the first episode, I'm like waiting to get like 10,000 more Twitter followers and like all this crazy stuff to happen overnight. But it doesn't.
I believe he used the term "insta famous."
But
is what he told me.
But it's gradual, and throughout the whole thing, you don't know what you're getting into. You've been through this crazy experience. For us, we went through it and we learned our lessons and we shed tears and we grew stronger. And that's what we wanted out of it. And then you wait for a few months for it to come on TV, and then you see how it affects everybody else. So it's like, it's just like this two-sided story, and it takes a while, but like when I left Mexico, I knew how I felt differently about myself and how I looked at the world, but I had no idea how it would affect other people until, the past 4 months. And it's just been amazing. And, I think overall, I think I made a smart move and to go on the show because it just was so great,
You can't turn that down, I mean, you got to do it. It's so fun.
Let's see. Well, how about you, young lady?
So, speaking of the emotional stress, I'm just completely curious, how on earth do you keep the results secret until the final finale?
It was tough.
Because we didn't win, so we didn't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it.
I did good. Well, for me, it's tough. And I mean, I got really, really good at, because, every table that you go to say hi to, at least in my kitchen, like, "Did you win?" And I'm like, you gotta wait and find out. But, and it was tough for me because I went out and then we did Last Chance Kitchen. So like all of a sudden I had the roller coaster. I mean, I did interviews after that initial time, knowing that I got back. And I'm like, yeah, that foie gras, I'm done. No more Top Chef for me. In the back of my mind, I'm like, ooh, just wait. I do come back. But it's wild. You just get really used to just kind of turning it off and being like, yeah, just watch. And then I would text him and be like, oh, I can't wait for Last Chance Kitchen, I win. But
part of it is going through this whole crazy, super produced experience, and you don't want to spoil it for everybody, like it took forever. It takes like 40 people on set, so like we went through this whole crazy hard thing, and I want you to appreciate what we went through. I don't want to ruin it for you. I want you to see my suffering, like.
And they are extremely good at scaring you from talking about the show.
Yeah.
What do they do?
They just tell you not to, and it's a bunch of people that are scary, and you're like,
contract this thick. Maybe $1 million involved.
Well, with social media, one little slip up can travel so quickly, and chefs are all over social media. It's a powerful tool in the industry right now, and they know that. So they're all over you, and I think it's mostly with people. I could see how someone could get disgruntled by going home early or something and wanting to, but
Spoil it.
we had a pretty good crew. I don't think anybody was too mad.
No.
Except for me. And eggs.
It seemed like this season in particular, everybody kind of got along better
Mm-hmm.
than others. I mean, have you stayed in touch with people, and was that?
Oh,
did
yeah.
that actually
Yeah.
counter it? Did they
We're pretty close. I think after, we're all fighting for the same thing. I think a lot of us kept our guard. I didn't talk to anyone for like the first half of the show. May didn't talk to anyone for the first half of the show.
First half?
Yeah, well, yeah, the whole show. The whole show. And then people get eliminated, and obviously we're a lot better now, but part of it is you can't really help or hinder anyone else. It's like you're really just cooking against yourself. Because nothing anyone else does can affect how you're cooking. So by the time you realize that, you're like, all right, fine, we'll hang out.
And if you get outplayed, you get outplayed. If you like go home for a dish that's just good, and it happened. It was like your dish was great, but you just got outplayed, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's the spirit of competition, unless you make a real bonehead mistake. But
it's overall, it's a pretty stressful situation. So you bond together because it is pretty miserable.
And we had a great.
It's pretty stressful.
We did have a great crew. I mean, we still all talk. Actually, the second time I got eliminated, I called Katsuji, and I'm like, he's crying and I'm crying. And I'm like, well, I thought it'd be easier, the second time. It's not. And he's like, bro, I want you to be my baby's godfather. And I'm like, whoa. And then I'm like, now it's really flowing. I'm like, I love you. So Maylin is in town for Chef's Week, and we meet up to cook. And for Chef's Week, it was a great time. And I come in and I'm like, dude, Katsuji asked me to be his baby's godfather.
And then
Maylin is like, he asked me to be the, and Gregory's like, he asked me too. And I'm like, what? And then I'm like getting a hold of everyone. I'm like, did he ask you to be, because I was like taking him really serious. He's a smart guy, I guess. Like, I mean, God forbid if anything happens, he'll be taken care of.
Who's the godfather?
I called him, I was like, you were such a jerk, dude. Like, what? I was distraught when you told me that. I believed you.
Other than your own restaurants, what are your favorite restaurants to eat at in Portland?
Oh. Oof.
Pak Pak, Imperial, Ox, Ava Jeans, Nong's Common Guy.
Oh, quick.
I get asked all the time.
Do you? That's a tough one.
Colonel Sanders?
I'm a Popeyes guy, personally, if I will be quoted. I try and eat as many restaurants as I possibly
You
can.
love Padi.
I love Padi.
It's very good.
I'm also like kind of a homebody on my days off. I live on 29th, so walking distance is good for me. So Padi is like 4 or 5 times, whenever I can get in there.
Long Bond's amazing.
I'm kind of a lowbrow guy.
Hot dogs.
I like
You're
Zach.
Reel 'em in?
I'm a Reel 'em in guy. I'm a Zach Shack guy. I like hot dogs on my days off. Because partly, sometimes I get stressed out if you go to, especially if, there's nothing worse than taking your girl out on your one day off in the month and just staring into the open kitchen the entire time and being like, oh, he looks mad. I think that's something's and then the whole night goes by and you're like, I didn't talk to you the entire time. I'm so sorry, So I kind of like to go to places that I can, relax and not get stressed out about too much fuss. I love hot dogs and fried chicken. I really, really do. It's pretty embarrassing, actually. That's how I stay in such good shape. I'm trying to get him on the level. But
Almost there, dude. It's in there.
he's like, what'd you do on your day off? I ran a marathon. I'm like, yeah. Feeding 6 hot dogs. I think I'm on about 3 PBRs. Yeah, I'm exercising too. There's a ping pong table out back.
The arm in the back.
Yeah, have any of the judges visited your guys' restaurants, and how did it go?
No.
No. We've seen them.
I missed.
A few of them were in town for Feast. I don't think.
I missed them. I know.
Yeah.
Hugh. I heard that Hugh Atchison was, and I was so glad I didn't see him because I was still fresh, that wound. I'm okay with not seeing them for a little while. I mean, obviously it would be an honor, and it would really stress me out.
I think it'd be fun to get people like that into Portland eating our food and talking about it. I think it'd be good for us.
I'm looking forward to next year's Chef Week and next year's Feast and seeing who comes in.
Yeah.
No Colicchio yet. I keep watching the door.
He's coming. He'll come. He's coming for you.
He's coming for me.
Fishing.
So Richard wrote on his blog about how coming in third's not so bad, and it's actually winning's not everything, right?
He did.
And so, Gregory, did you agree with him? And Gregory, can you relate also that it might just be just as well?
I think there's different avenues you can take. To be very honest, I think someone like May, she wanted to win Top Chef, and to be completely transparent about how I feel, I think she took 6 months off to study and win Top Chef. People like Doug and I, we were on Top Chef, and we have restaurants to run, and we cooked and did our jobs, and we're on Top Chef at the same time, so it was a little bit different for us.
I tried to take 6 months off to learn how to make a dessert in 100-degree weather with melting chocolate.
So it's an experience that we have under our belts, and we're going to take everything that we've learned from it and be better people, and any opportunities that come out of it, we're going to filter and have some fun and try to get our goals out there as much as possible. I'm very happy that things are a lot quieter now that the show is over. I'm glad I have no more secrets about stuff, and I'm glad I can be with my cooks again. And if I get to go on a cruise at some point because of the show, then I'm down.
That piece that Richard wrote really meant a lot to me. Because he basically he hated me the entire season.
But he didn't really. He said he thought he did.
Well, he sure let me know. I mean, it was for me. It was like if I saw Gail Simmons, I was like, okay, not so bad. If I saw Richard Blais, I was like, oh god. And every time it was the same. It was like, Doug, do you think that this is fine dining enough for Top Chef? And I'm like, well, I won the last one with chili, so I'm trying to. And your hair is distracting me. But he really
tough.
gave it. And I think.
In the beginning, he was on our side because he's been on the show before. So it was like, older brother, you guys are doing great. Just hang in there. Everything's going to be fine. And then by the second half of the show, it was like, he's like, I've been through this and I've won. And you guys need to step it up.
Twice. He was,
so
but
he
just
flipped mid-season.
I made a joke at one point to him, and he was at my table for something. I forget what it was. But I said something dumb. And Gail Simmons kind of laughed, and he just glared at me. And after that, I was like, "Oh, I really shouldn't have said that." And then at one point, it was about bologna. It's like, "Oh, Richard Blais is coming to make us bologna sandwiches or something like that," and he just was like, and he gave me this look. And I was like, "Oh, this is the fourth episode. This guy's he's gonna be judging me for a while." But I actually couldn't believe that he wrote that. It really did mean the world to me. And he's an awesome, and he kind of said it was I had a role to play and I had a job to do. And actually, the last one he would always ask me, do you think this is fine dining enough for Top Chef? So I get out and I'm in the airport of Mexico and I'm fuming still about those ant eggs. And first thing I do, I'm get on the phone, check Eater PDI, da-da-da-da-da, and I see Pock Pock wins a Michelin star. And I go on Twitter and I'm at Richard Blais, Pock Pock New York wins Michelin star. Is that fine dining enough?
before the show airs, before we're cast.
And I get 3 emails from the Top Chef people are like, you can't do that. And then, but what's funny is then 5 minutes later, I get a notification. It's Richard Blais follows you on Twitter. And I'm sure he was touche. I
I think part of it is some people, they go on Top Chef and they wait for things to happen for them. And I think the story's pretty different for Doug and I, whereas, you know, we're busy people who are happily running our restaurants and are just learning from the opportunity moving forward.
And cooking.
Yeah.
Cooking. Never let that go. I'll go crazy.
When the show brought your families on, how was that experience?
It was good. It was a lot of fun.
That was definitely a point where I felt like I was struggling to get by. It was very nice to see my sister because she lives across the country and I hadn't seen her in a very long time. But it wasn't any less stressful. It was a challenge, and I felt myself struggling, and I was on the bottom, and I almost went home. So overall, it was still just as stressful as anything else. I'm very happy that I got to share that experience with her. She was there for me, which is amazing. My parents got both their kids on TV. They're like so happy about that. It's like super cute, you know. But I don't know. It's just like one of those things where, you know, like Dougie was saying, like, you know, you're just on edge. You know, like the minute you win something, like you have that second at the judges table where like you're the winner. But like as soon as the judges leave the stage, like you're on the chopping block because you're about to go to bed and get your next challenge. If you don't know your next challenge already, like there's no rest. So even having my sister,
time to like think about. Oh,
so,
I did really well yesterday.
Just because my sister was there, like I was still freaking out that I might go home, and I almost did that day. So, but I'm very happy that I got the opportunity to spend time with her, and it's just one of those things where. You know, it goes beyond just being on a competition show, and Bravo do something actually very, very nice and bring us together like that. So that was very cool.
What did your mom think of the painting?
Did she get it yet? Did they give it to you?
I don't think she's gotten it yet. But she's very. It was kind of a special episode for me. I did pretty well that episode, but. It was just kind of funny, like, you know, I'm up there and they're like, oh, and you win this huge painting. And I'm like, I live in an apartment with a roommate, you know, and Padma's like, do you have a spot picked out? And I was like, yeah, totally. I got a 2-bedroom apartment on Belmont. I got the spot really well picked out. But it just like, of course, it was like, that challenge was just so fun because. And it was almost. I mean, we drew those names, and I just lucked out. I mean, poor Melissa's artist. I saw that art and I was like, oh my god, I don't know what I would do. And I met her, and she just struck me like my mom. And I mean, as soon as I came in, she's wearing cowboy boots, and she's like, oh, shut up, let me talk. I'm like, oh, okay. And then, and when I saw that painting, I just knew like exactly what I wanted to do, and. Exactly how I wanted to represent. And they asked me, and I was like, of course, I'm sending it to my mom. Like, I don't want this big. Of course, someday, you know, when I eventually grow up and have a house, if that ever happens. But yeah, she's extremely stoked. She's an art teacher in Texas, so it was a very cool challenge. The entire time I was on Top Chef, I was like, my mom told me when I told her, she was like, just don't say anything stupid. And I'm like, okay, Mom. Got it.
Front row.
So I love that all my questions are getting asked. And I want to ask you the way I really want to ask you, and then I'll ask you the way, because you're going to say no. But of everything that you lost on or you got negative reviews on, are there any of those that you would refine and do at your would you refine them and do them at my house? That's my dream. So the reality is, would you do them? And Doug, specifically the foie gras, I wanted that so badly as I was looking at it. So,
you know, the funny.
Consider doing the bad one or the.
Actually, at my restaurant, at Imperial.
Did you serve the foie?
No. But we did. But I was off that day. But we did. I ran those specials. Vitaly just got such a kick out of it, you know, and I ran that fried chicken and it hasn't gone away. But it was kind of cool, but I mean, it's just one of those things, that confidence, like, you know, I just wanted to run away. But obviously, I mean, not a single day goes by that I don't relive that day. And I woke up with him and I was like, it's really risky, dude, but if I do it, and you know, in typical Gregory, he's like, oh yeah, I think you got it. No, great idea. And then all of a sudden, in hindsight, I'm like, Colicchio just looked at me and he was like, why? And he's like, how often have you done this in your restaurant? I'm like, never. You never get the opportunity. I mean, when do you ever get like to cook whole loaves of, and it also upset me. They kept on saying loaves with the V. And it just like, I don't know why that like it just like killed me. I was like, but you never get that. I mean, unless you're like, working up in Montreal. I mean, there are restaurants, but I've never done it. And Colicchio's like, so why would you do this? And I was like, I don't know.
You have to take a risk, and I think
maybe think about the type of risk to take. But I just thought it was like, how cool would it be to pull that off for him on Top Chef? And then, of course, in hindsight, you're like, oh. And Colicchio was like, well, what was your backup plan? I was like, oh, I was going to do like a pork roast. And he was like, probably pull that off. I'm like, yeah, probably could have done that.
It's a thin line between wanting to create something new and innovative every time and reaching out and branching out and trying something different and, doing something you're comfortable with and not wanting to be something for the judges and just flat out taking a risk. And I think we both like kind of did all of it, throughout the season. So
to answer, absolutely. Like, I think mistakes are what define you in the kitchen. Those are the big ones that I remember throughout my career that time. And it's a great learning tool in the kitchen. It's only a mistake if you don't learn from it and you don't understand why that happened. That's what I tell my cooks all the time. It's like, it's okay. Like, we're human beings. You make mistakes, but you look at that and you move forward. Like, mistakes are great. You have all these little victories, but I'm never going to forget that. And I dropped it and I just got tore apart. I mean, it's like Dana.
The thing is,
that
like,
table was the table not to drop the ball on. And Barbara Lynch was like
Dana Cohen, Prudhomme relatives.
Dana Cohen, and then Hugh Atchison was like, he's so dry and he's mean, and he's mean. He is mean. He's pretty funny. And pretty funny, though. And then he kind of slapped me, and at that point, my legs were just rubber. I mean, standing at it's like 3 seconds on TV, but you watch them eat that entire plate of food. And you're just like, do I throw up? And you're just standing there like, what do you say to those other than, I'm sorry? Because they've heard it all before, like, and Hugh Atchison's kind of like, well, you got a pretty good story to tell, but mistakes are great. They would define you. Victories are victories. Hopefully they just keep coming, but those are, mistakes are what.
Honestly, they're only mistakes because there was a time limit. In the real world, like, I would have that goose would have been tender. I'd have been like, you got to wait for this goose. I need 1 hour, and then we're gonna have some goose.
That was, that was a fun challenge too, because I cooked first on the Thanksgiving challenge, and this is like our bond was. If you watch the show, almost every time we walk back, there's like this moment where like, PDX, what? Like when it was good, and when it wasn't, we were just like looking at each other. But I had already cooked. I served first at Thanksgiving, and the producers are kind of funny. They're like, stand over there, and I see Gregory, and I'm like, and I bolt to him, and I'm like, dude, what do you need? Let's do this. What do you? And the producers are like, you can't do that. I'm like, yeah, I can actually, and I'm going to, because it's like my buddy. He needs my, and it's that hospitality. It's like Thanksgiving, and then the producers are like, no, you can't. And then they're like, okay, yeah, you can. I'm like, I was going to no matter what. And I'm like, dude, what do you need? What do you need? What do you need? It wasn't that tough, by the way. It was delicious. It was.
Well, we only have time for one more question, unfortunately. Just one more question. Who's going to ask it? Who do we have here?
Are you privy to any of that before you watch the show? And when you did just learn on the show watching, did you gain any interesting insight or anything about the full comments about your food?
Oh, if you're in trouble or not.
Yeah.
But at the end, it got really hard because
they just say nice things.
And at the beginning, you'd be like, oh, he's in trouble, or I'm in trouble, or ooh, I did good. And at the end, everyone's kind of
like in the beginning,
cooking strong.
They want to filter everybody out, so they want to like just get people. I mean, not like get people out of there, but they're just more honest about stuff. I think at the end, like everyone's cooking better, so it gets a little bit harder. And there's also this element of keeping you guessing about like what really went down.
In the past seasons, they've like had a screen in the stew room where you like hear them talk, and they didn't for this one. So for this one, it used to be like they would do that and you'd hear, and then Padma would come in and say, "Chefs, I would like to see." For us, every time like we'd like to see all of you. And then you had to stand there and like watch your buddies get. But yeah, it was, and they always want to keep you on your toes, But you could always tell Tom has this kind of look where like the glasses come off, and he's kind of like, he does that,
He's
and then he kind of like
nap.
drops his fork.
Season 12.
And then he kind of gives you this look like, why? He's such an old school awesome.
No, but I mean, like they tell you lots of positives and they tell you lots of negatives, and there's something that's said at the dinner table, there's something that's said at the judges' table, but when you finally watch it on TV, you get like the final scoop, and it's nice to hear.
I knew I was in trouble. Towards the end, at least, they do this kind of like mom and dad thing between Tom and Padma. So like I dropped this, my Aunt Egg said I got to cook, and Colicchio's like, the first thing he says like, the problem with this dish, and that's like the first thing I hear, and I'm like, oh. And then it gets to Padma, and she's like, Doug, I thought it was really good, and I'm like, oh. It's like mom and dad, and it's like, I think that, Colicchio was like just the texture, and he was totally, I mean, I'm the type of guy that I always, and it's kind of funny, there's contestants on Top Chef, they're like, stand by it. Whatever you do, be like, that's exactly how I serve my foie gras at my restaurant. I was like, no. I screwed it up. I didn't have enough time to rest. But I'm saying it's what an amazing experience to get that much feedback from those people. But you get an inkling. I mean, if they eat it, like you see them like take one bite and they're like, okay, I'm ready to tell you what I think about this. You're in big trouble. When he served his curry at the thing, Colicchio was like drinking, and I was watching him because I was like, oh, Gregory's got this. He's like drinking it.
He ate two of your dish at the art challenge.
He asked for seconds on my chili, which I was like,
yeah, done deal. I was like, all right.
But you do get those hints, but they like to keep you guessing for sure, because they want you to go into that stew room being like, what bad TV would have been like, a bunch of chefs like trembling, and one guy walks in, he's like, how'd you guys do? I'm about to win this. They tell like. It'd be so boring.
You walked
to
in
watch.
like that a few times.
What's that?
You walked in like that a few times.
No,
yeah, you did.
No, I didn't.
You did.
No, I didn't.
Restaurant Wars.
Yeah, I knew I was done good at Restaurant Wars, but I didn't know if I was going to win. I thought it was going to be Adam. I almost, yeah.
Well, we think you guys are both winners. Total
Thank
winners.
you, guys. And I do have to say, in the finale, it was such an honor to cook for Gregory and to help him in that final battle. And I was cooking just as hard.
Thank you.
Appreciate
that. We have a long lifetime together.
Well, I think we are unfortunately out of time. This has been so much fun. We really, really appreciate you guys taking the time to do this, and thanks to everybody who came out tonight. This was just great. It was so much fun watching you all season, and even more fun to hear all these stories. So we're very thankful for you.
Next time we're bringing Katsuji. We'll need more than an hour and a half, I promise.
Thank you so much for coming,
Thanks,
everyone.
guys.
Thank you.